Hi everyone, welcome to Prevention Education, the podcast that teaches you everything about prevention. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another podcast. As always, I'm your host Kylie, and today's going to be a little different episode. There is no one joining me today on this episode, and so we're going to go through some of the stuff that I do in my day-to-day job. So the title of this episode is all about social media and how it impacts youth substance use in the prevention world. And we're just going to go through how it can affect youth. And I just have some studies that I wanted to share with you guys and just kind of tell you guys how social media impacts the youth around us. So I don't have any fun questions today since it's just me. So it might be a little boring of an episode, but I just wanted to give you guys an episode since it's been so long. So this will also be a little bit of a series just because there's so much information in the social media realm, especially with youth substance use. And so this episode will specifically just be about how youth are affected on social media with substance use messages and peer interactions and how it can impact their lives, their decisions. So just to start off, our basic question is, how does social media affect youth substance use? And I think everyone kind of knows the teen years, even younger than teen years. It's a very vulnerable age, especially with what they see around them. And so, especially the teen years, they're highly susceptible to peer influence and peer pressure. And that happens all the time with social media, right? They're not just kind of scrolling on their feed, but they're looking at all their friends, seeing what other friends are doing, celebrities. So the sites such as Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and even emerging ones, sometimes even Twitter, they expose kids to famous people and normal people. And whether they're famous or normal, these individuals can be involved in some risky behaviors, such as the use of drugs and alcohol. And when kids see this, it either allows them to feel a certain way and they want to engage in that behavior, or they are deterred from that behavior. So I just wanted to get into some statistics. So I found some stats on the U.S. Surgeon General Advisory Board website, and up to 95% of youth ages 13 through 17 reported using a social media platform, and with more than a third saying that they use social media almost constantly. They're almost always on their phone, other than when they're in school or doing alternative activities, of course. And this study was done by Vogels and his colleagues in 2022, and the title of it was Teen Social Media and Technology. So feel free to look that up, but it's no secret that a lot of the kids nowadays are using social media a lot. If they're bored, if they have any second by themselves, they might turn to social media to fill the void, fill their mind, just not be busy or to not be stagnant. They just want their brains to constantly be going. So, with knowing that fact, I wanted to get into kind of how their brains are working at this age. So, brain development is very prevalent at the ages that are using social media. So, specifically in this study that I stated, it was ages 13 through 17. And I also want to note that most social media platforms, you have to be above 13 or above to use the platform. But there is nothing stopping kids younger than 13 getting on those platforms. So it affects any age of children. So brain development, like I said, at this age, 13 to 17, is super prevalent. And when they're using social media, the social media messages, what they're seeing really impacts their brain development. And so during these teenage years, this is when they can engage in risk-taking behaviors that could put them on the wrong path in life, or they can choose to create healthy habits and do healthy behaviors that'll put them on the right path in life. So when they're looking at these messages, it might give them feelings of depression and anxiety. Those type of feelings can start emerging. And also in the years that kids are using social media, It's the years of identity versus self-worth. So when they're trying to figure out who they are, when they're trying to figure out what makes them feel good about who they are constantly on social media, and they allow social media to tell them what to do and how to feel, which can be really dangerous. But if they're looking at positive messages, that can be really positive for them. So, to get into another study, and this study was found on addictioncenter.com. So, a study conducted by the National Center on Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University, which, just a little note, we don't use substance abuse anymore. It's officially just substance use. But they found that teenagers who regularly use popular social media outlets were more likely to drink, buy tobacco, use drugs than adolescents who either did not use social media or use it less frequently. And so this study asked 2,000 adolescents about their drug use and social media habits, and 70% said that they use social media on any given day. So researchers found that when they compared non-users or infrequent users of social media, this group was 5 times more likely to buy cigarettes, 3 times more likely to drink, and 2 times as likely to use marijuana. So that just kind of shows the effects of social media and how it can influence. And I'm not saying, of course, that there's not other factors in their life that influence whether they choose to use substances or not. There, of course, are many other factors outside of social media. This is just one factor that can impact their trajectory and what they decide to do. So, moving on to another kind of realm of social media is ads, advertising. Ads make you feel a certain way, whether it's positive or negative. You can just be sitting here, and if I had an ad about, um, I don't know, flowers, and it was a really positive message about smell the roses every day, and you're gonna feel great. After the message, you're probably gonna feel great, and you might like notice flowers throughout your day. So there's some feelings in advertisings, whether you notice it or not. They're constantly around you. And so on social media, when you see ads about, for example, you might see an alcohol ad, and their intention is not to get youth to use alcohol, of course, but what they actually are doing is targeting a large population. So the message is going out to all ages, and younger individuals might see adults at a party drinking and having fun, or at a lake, or at some event that they could go to or throw, and they're having so much fun. And so the youth see that, and they want to be cool, and they want to act a little older than what they are. And so that might give them a negative view on alcohol use, and that might encourage them to engage in alcohol use, to ask an adult to buy that alcohol for them, or to potentially get a fake ID to obtain that alcohol. So that's just a small example of what an ad can do without actually targeting that younger audience. Yeah, and companies they're marketing these products with traditional media regulations prohibiting or restricting advertising to minors. But if they're using influencers, if there's comments on things, if there's discounts, games, images of people using their products very effectively, that goes outside the realm of what's prohibited on social media. So there's other ways where they can see ads, whether it's, following their favorite influencer, a comment that's on a post that they just happen to scroll past, or just simply an image of someone using substances and looking like they're having fun. So it's not just the typical way of, hi, we're this company promoting this thing. There's unique ways that they can be using ads on social media, which, yeah, I don't know if you guys knew that, but it's an interesting way to know. But social media can also create this idea called FOMO. And if you don't know what FOMO is, it's called the fear of missing out, and it can lead to increased drug use in youth. So there's kind of two different paths that FOMO can happen. on when it comes to social media. The first one is, like I mentioned earlier, when youth are using social media, that can increase feelings of depression and anxiety. So these feelings can come from seeing some of their friends, having a party and they weren't invited, or just other people are having a lot more fun than they are in that moment. So they might turn to substance use to make them feel better. And that, of course, isn't a good way to deal with FOMO if that is happening. But that is one way that they could just go by themselves and engage in that behavior with no one knowing. But on the other hand, if they see a party happening on social media and they see that the people at the party are cool, and they're hip, they're people that they look up to, they're role models to them, then that might make them want to engage in the behavior in a fun way. So we have the negative way of seeing people have fun, and that leads to them isolating and using substances by themselves, or seeing people have fun with substances, and then that leads them to want to engage in the behavior with those groups as well. So, um, just kind of noting what the kids are seeing on social media, unless they're following all positive accounts with positive messaging and their friends don't engage in substances or they know everyone super close, there's really no way to kind of hide them from this. It's kind of everywhere. And when youth post, they want to look cool. And especially if they're on a private account, they don't expect outside people to see these pictures. And so they would feel free to post anything they want. And their goal is to kind of make other people want to be doing what they're doing, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. When kids see that substances are displayed in a normal way, then that normalizes it for kids and they'll be more likely to use that substance if they don't know the effects and if they just think it makes you look cool. So, also knowing all of that, I'm going to move on to our next topic, and that's social media and the mental health link. And so, I'm not going to say too much on this because it can be its own episode, and I'm going to pull someone else in to talk over that with me. But social media has a lot of effects on mental health with youth, especially. So, one thing is low self esteem. When kids see someone else having fun and engaging in behaviors that they're jealous of, it'll make them think a little lowly of themselves. And when they think lowly of themselves, when they have that low self esteem, especially in these identity years, that can drive underage substance use. And if they're not having conversations with adults that know that they care about them, if they don't know how substances can affect their health, then they're going to turn to these substances because they don't know any better. Another link is with emotional issues. When they feel a certain way on social media, if it makes them sad, if it makes them angry, this can lead to unwanted behavior such as substance use as well. Once again, if they're not surrounding themselves with the positive messages or people that they really enjoy being around, then it could lead to some negative behaviors. And lastly, if they're on social media and they're not having a blast and they're judging it, they're judging themselves because they see certain things on social media, a maladaptive coping mechanism is turning to drugs and alcohol. And if you don't know what a maladaptive coping mechanism is, it's kind of just a negative coping strategy. So a positive coping strategy would be going on a run, talking to a trusted adult, you know, painting, doing hobbies that you really enjoy. But maladaptive coping strategies are things like turning to drug use, isolating oneself, kind of more negative strategies to deal with something. So, social media, to wrap all of that up into one, can lead to low self esteem, can lead to emotional issues, and can lead to maladaptive coping strategies in youth's lives. And when they start maladaptive coping strategies young, then that might continue for the rest of their lives. So we want to make sure that we're getting them on a good coping strategy path in order to be successful in every path that they can be in life. So, with all of that, I wanted to kind of end this episode on two different notes. So, number one, I wanted to end it on the SAMHSA's National Helpline. And so that is 1-800-662-HELP, and HELP is 4357. Or it is 1-800-487-4889. That's a confidential, free, 24-hour a day, 365 days a year informational line. And it's in English and Spanish. So these lines are for individuals and family members facing mental or substance use disorders, and the service provides referrals to local treatment facilities, support groups, and community-based organizations. And I wanted to share that with sharing that it can be adults or youth that use this. And of course, since we're prevention, we want to make sure that people are stopping the use or not even getting to the use of substances. And so, if you know someone that needs this, especially early in life, please make sure to refer them. And you can also visit the online treatment locator or set your zip code in via text message to 435748, and it's help for you. And they will find help near you. So you can read more about the Help For You text messaging service on SAMHSA's website, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And just thank you guys so much for listening. As we all know, social media can be a very powerful tool to create healthy habits in order for youth to be the best versions of themselves. But also there's just some negative aspects of it as well. So stay tuned for an upcoming episode on more social media in youth. I know this episode kind of jumped around a bit, but I promise if you see another episode with social media in the title, it'll be full of really great information and how we can help youth to use social media in a positive way to create the best versions of themselves possible. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you guys learned a little bit. And if you want to share in the comments of any of our social media posts, please let me know what you learned. Feel free to email me. My email is kylie.limburger@pfh.org, or you can email moprevention@pfh.org with any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned for some more upcoming episodes. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into our podcast. Remember to follow us on social media at PFH Prevention. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify, and more podcasting platforms. And make sure to email us at moprevention@pfh.org with any questions, and feel free to call us at 660-627-7404. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.